Guys, I just want to start out, Mr. Miller. I was wondering if I could geek out for a second. I'm a massive fan, and I have your work all over my home, and so
You
this is
picked two of
truly
my favorites, man.
this is an honor. So seriously, thank you so much for your time. And so, Mr. Miller, I was actually going to start with you. You've had the incredible pleasure of not just sort of creating these unbelievable images and these incredible stories, but then seeing them brought to life for all of us to enjoy, both on the big screen and the small screen. What was the moment that you created in one of your books that most blew you away the first time you ever got to see it brought to life?
Oh man, that's real hard to pick.
I want to know this one.
I would say, in terms of initial shock of how cool it looked, was early on in Sin City. Either the first time we simply saw Mickey Rourke's profile as he was smoking a cigarette in the opening scene, or the scene where he crashed through the window, getting away from the cops in the same sequence. In terms of like total shock into my system, seeing that Rodriguez had a way to turn cartoons into film, with and in a way merging live action with animation was to me just astonishing. I've also got to mention, in 300, the way Zack Snyder and company were able to do the 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 silhouette sequence where the Spartans push the Persians off the cliff,
Yes.
and
Oh, yes.
is where it's in black silhouette.
Yeah.
Um, those those are some that come to mind, but it's always been a pleasure. And
That's awesome.
what I love is that through technological advances and also through a younger generation of producers and directors, we're now able to see, um, comics and film come closer together.
Yeah.
um, and and uh, and it's so that what is and animation and live action come closer together.
Mhm.
So it's sort of like dreams are coming true. It's wonderful.
That's well, it's wonderful for us as fans. I have a question for both of you guys, and seriously, this is basically going to be the Frank Miller geek out session. But one of the things I loved about Cursed is this idea of getting a backstory, sort of fleshing out a character that we've always kind of known. Like we've always known Lady in the Lake, but I feel like Lady in the Lake has always sort of been in the shadow of the King Arthur story, and now we sort of get to know a little bit more about this particular person. Who is another Frank Miller character throughout all of his work that you would love to just sort of maybe get a whole series to learn more about, because you want to go in the backstory and sort of figure out how did you get to that point? And Tom, I'm going to start with you.
Well, yeah, I can have my own geek out moment because I have the Daredevil Born Again artist edition here. I just love, the Frank's writing in that is incredible. That story is incredible. Nuke was an interesting character, and it was pretty. What the hell's that guy's deal? I think Frank has obviously impacted culture, for a couple decades now, and there's a lot of cool characters to draw from. I was really you could just be immersed in the world of Sin City. I think there's still more Marv adventures to be had in there. He's teased a couple characters to me that he hasn't tackled yet that I think are kind of interesting as well. But I can't spoil anything. But there are adventures to come out of that mind that I think audiences will be very excited about. In the vein of a Nimue. But hopefully we get to tell more Nimue stories in the meantime.
Oh my God, of course, of course. Mr. Miller, is there one in particular that you've sort of thought like, oh, it'd be cool to maybe sort of go back and sort of figure out where this person came from?
Yeah.
Can I ask who sort of intrigues you the most?
You could ask.
Okay, Mr. Miller, who does intrigue you the most? Who would you like to do the prequel series for?
No, I don't want to get into that. No, I
Okay.
mean, it's like I don't like to talk about things until they're really ready to go. and because then people start saying stuff, and I might get a little confused or something.
Fair enough. Fair
And I'm
enough.
a sensitive guy, and I can't let that happen.
Fair enough. Understood. Understood. And as we wrap up, one of the themes of this show that I thought was really interesting is the thin line between a curse and a gift. This idea that someone might be able to do something, and everyone else outside their life looks at it and goes, "That's incredible. That's amazing. How fantastic for you." But the person that has that says, "No, this sucks. What are you talking about? I hate it."
Yeah.
Is there an aspect of your industry, of the entertainment world, that fits within that realm where, like, we look at it and go, "That's amazing that you can do that, that you have access to that," but then you look at it and go, like, "No, this is not a good thing"?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I think the way Nimue feels is the way a lot of teenagers feel. I mean, as a parent of teenagers now, two of them, God help me. There is that sense of you don't understand me. You don't there's a sense of wanting to hide or protect some of those things that are kind of our most wonderful differences that will help us stand out, that will that will challenge us and therefore make us stronger. But that's kind of that painful process of life. I mean, it's interesting in the creative process. I think the experience of Hollywood and like a lot of businesses. It's a business. It can be tough. There can be, but I think to create things, you need to be in a world of play in your own mind, which is almost a childish place, which doesn't always blend well with the kind of rigors of what your story needs to go through to get all the way to the end of something. I mean, this was a very unique storytelling experience where I think Frank and I approached it with that aspect of play, and really, I think it was important to maintain throughout, and did, because we were blessed with an incredible team that also had that attitude of just, this is the most amazing sandbox in the world, and we were very lucky to be able to see it all the way through ourselves as the creators of the book and the characters.
For sure. Mr. Miller, what about you? Is there anything in particular that stands out to you?
Well, I just like to add a little bit to what Tom said, and say that normally the machinery of making this sort of thing um, grinds away at the possibility of spontaneity, of the sudden moment where you get an impulsive idea. I found on this production that there's room for it, and that Tom and I have done some very spontaneous work, and so have the cast and the directors, that have given us moments we wouldn't otherwise have, moments that were created, right then and there, and that to me is what is makes it all the more alive.
For sure. Well,
I remember,
alive it
all the
absolutely
way
is.
back to, like, I used to watch old time TV when I first moved to New York, and there wasn't any cable, which dates me. And I remember I would watch the old Honeymooners TV show with Jackie Gleason, and that was all done live with no cuts. And so you would see Jackie Gleason and Art Carney make use of every mistake in the course of every time that one forgot their line or something. If Art Carney forgot a line, Jackie Gleason would ride him for 5 minutes, and that was where some of the best humor came.
Yeah.
Let's say we don't do anything as extreme as that, but I think some of the moments that we've experienced that have been created right then and there have been sweet.
That's awesome. Guys, I cannot tell you how much of an honor it is to be able to talk to you. I can't thank you enough for your time. Hopefully next time we get to do this, hopefully it'll be in person. But seriously, thank you guys. Really, stay safe, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.